You guys are watching NFL Daily. I am Tom Downey here with a mailbag answering all of your guys' questions around the NFL. Whatever you guys want to discuss, put it in the comments and we'll break it down here for you on today's live mailbag. All right, first up from Matt the Gamer. Which team do you think needs Aaron Rodgers the most? Good question. On one hand, I think a team like Philadelphia would make some sense, like being able to add a clear-cut franchise quarterback, maybe Washington with where they're at in terms of being able to win games, makes some sense. But I think need, from an organizational standpoint, in terms of where their head coach is at, I'd argue Denver. I think the Denver Broncos would at least benefit the most from Aaron Rodgers. That team goes from maybe they're a playoff team to how far behind actually are they behind the Kansas City Chiefs? I think Denver is the team there. All right, from Trenton, what do you think an Xavien Howard or Stephon Gilmore trade would look like for the Seahawks? Well, I think at minimum, you'd probably try to send a cornerback back. Now, I don't know which corner that would end up being, but I do think that they would try to send a cornerback back in a trade. Draft pick-wise, look, there's no first, so it's probably a second, at least for Howard, and something else. I think Gilmore's value is pretty similar to Julio Jones. I would say that Howard's value is a little bit higher than that, so second plus is probably what Seattle would have to give up if they were going to find a way to go get one of those top-tier corners. From Rashard Lee, if the Cowboys make the playoffs, is that a good season for them? I mean, if they don't make the playoffs, I'm going to be disappointed for them. So at minimum, it's at least meeting expectations from that perspective. I don't know if they're going to make a deep run. Maybe you're hoping for more than just postseason, which I think is very fair. But I think making the playoffs is kind of the minimum to have at least a passable season. From Stock Fan 122, do you think the New England Patriots will be a better team than last year? I mean, I think that they should be a better team, right? The way that this roster is set up and built, they get a lot of their key defensive pieces back. Cam Newton was good before the COVID hit him, and if he's not better, then okay, Mac Jones is there to take over. So, yes, I do think this Patriots team, although it might not be a massive win differential, will be better in 2021. From King Cuddy, should the Dolphins go sign David DeCastro? Look, I'm always open to adding more offensive line help. But I think what's going to end up happening is that, no, the Dolphins aren't going to be very interested. In all likelihood, Robert Hunt's going to make the move from right tackle to right guard. Solomon Kindley kicks over to left guard as he tries to hold off the likes of a Jesse Davis, a Michael Dieter, and maybe DJ Fluker is held off by Robert Hunt at right guard. And those are your guards long term, Kindley and Hunt. I like both those guys. I think they're very talented players, or at least have the upside to be a really good duo at offensive guard. Plus, they're young and cheap. So I get it. You want to make the offensive line better, but you also have to see what those young guys can do. Now, if DeCastro wants to sign for next to nothing, yes, of course. But he's also coming off his own ankle issue. So I think in reality, the more likely outcome for Miami is that they pass on David DeCastro. Speaking of DeCastro, as we asked you guys at the beginning of today's live show, make your predictions for me. Where do you think David DeCastro will end up signing? Is it Miami or somewhere else altogether? Get your votes in for me right now in the comments section. From Caleb, does Julio Jones help or hurt A.J. Brown this year? Look, from a fantasy perspective, you can make an argument that it hurts him in the sense that, well, Julio's going to get probably more targets than what Corey Davis got, but it's like it's going to make an A.J. Brown a worse player. Having Julio Jones allows, I think, a little bit more frequent better coverage roles and matchups and all that stuff for A.J. Brown. So from a efficiency perspective, it helps him. From a pure fantasy volume perspective, maybe hurts him a little bit. From Minecraft Soft, Derek Carr or Kirk Cousins? Ooh, that's a good question. I think both those guys are kind of I think they're top 15 quarterbacks. They probably bordering on top 10. I think they're underrated too. I think I'd rather have Derek Carr than Kirk Cousins. Carr was pretty damn good last year, in all honesty. I think both those guys, though, you feel good enough about them, but you also know they're not quite the Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers tier. So definitely guys you pay, but maybe always keep an eye out for if one of the top quarterbacks come up, which, again, never really happens. From Shanav, can Denver's defense carry the Broncos to the playoffs? I have no trust in Drew Lock. Teddy Bridgewater can't win games. I mean, they can carry you. We saw the Bears do it last year, right? The issue for Denver is they got to take on the Chargers, even the Raiders, and, of course, the Chiefs 6 times over a season. That makes it tough. They're playing in a very difficult division. So, yes, they can, but I think it's also understandable if you don't have faith in the defense to be quite top 3, which I think is required unless one of those quarterbacks take a big-time step forward. From McDouble Johnson, a great sandwich. Not great for you, though. Should the Falcons trade for a wide receiver like N'Keal Harry? In general, I'm open to going out if you're the Falcons getting a receiver, because obviously Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage are your top 2. Who's your wide receiver 3? Honestly, it probably ends up being Kyle Pitts / Hayden Hurst. You run 2 tight end sets all the time. N'Keal Harry, the problem for him over his NFL career is that he looks like a bust. N'Keal Harry has not been good in New England, and it's not for a lack of immense talent on that roster. There hasn't been a ton of it. So because of that, he's a decent buy low candidate, but I think it's fair to wonder if maybe N'Keal Harry just isn't going to be good in the NFL. From Jaden here, thoughts on a Bryant Poole reunion with Atlanta or signing a guy like Malik Hooker? If they're cheap enough, why not both, right? I still think you could use some more cornerback help. I know Isaiah Oliver's kind of been flexed around a little bit, but I don't love the situation for Atlanta in terms of their cornerback room. And I like it even less at safety. Now, maybe a duo of Deron Harmon and Richie Grant, and I don't know, maybe Jalen Hawkins ends up being good, or Eric Harris, who they signed from the Raiders. Maybe those guys get you by for a season. Talent-wise, I am intrigued by adding Malik Hooker. The issue is medical. I don't think Hooker's medical is checked out. Multiple teams, I think 3, Colts, Steelers, Cowboys, have brought him in for a visit. And so far, nobody signed him, despite those teams in the market for safety help. I think the medical is a big-time problem there for Malik Hooker. From Yurji, if I got your name wrong, I'm terribly sorry, my friend. Should the Dolphins get a running back in free agency or get one in the 2022 NFL draft? I mean, I'd say draft. I've also said draft for 2 years in a row, and they haven't been able to get one. They were going to take Javonte Williams, I am convinced, and then Denver sniped him. So the free agents left right now, Lev Bell, Todd Gurley, it's not going to fix your problem long term. Next offseason, see who becomes available, but I would once again be looking at the draft for the running back spot to fix it long term. From a stock fan, who do you think is the best quarterback of all time? It's Brady. Because Tom Brady has ruined the expectations for every single franchise and quarterback. We know how great Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, and Drew Brees are. Brees won 1. Rodgers won 1. Peyton won 2, one of which because his defense in Denver was incredible while he was washed up at that point. So it's Tom Brady. And look, there's a lot of other credit to go around beyond just Brady. He picked a good team in the Bucs, make no mistake about it. But it is Tom Brady because everyone thinks it's easy to win titles because Brady's won so many, when in reality, it's incredibly challenging. From Killer T 254, do you think the Seahawks should go after someone, and if so, who should they go get? I would argue that maybe defensive tackle, if you don't trust Rasheem Green and or L.J. Collier to emerge as a key part of your interior defensive line rotation, probably someone that they should explore. But in terms of trade market, you can look around a little bit. I don't know how likely it ends up being that they're able to find a significant player to really say things. Like adding a big-time corner, Stephon Gilmore, Xavien Howard, it's fun. It'd be very expensive, though. Let me know in the comments section now, folks, and this is me allowing you guys to be mean and to be rude. Let me know what NFL team that you guys hate the most. Which franchise can you simply not stand? Who is it? You can say multiple teams even if you want. Get your votes in for me in the comments section right now. From Lil Eden, Eagles cut Ertz, do the Titans go for him? I think it's a lot more likely that they would try to sign him versus trading for him. I remain unconvinced, and I think I'm right given where we are in the NFL calendar, that nobody's made an offer for Zach Ertz. The Eagles might be leaking stuff like, oh, he's available, we've got interest. If they had interest, I think they would have traded him. His contract is very expensive for his final year, about, I think it's $8 million his new team would owe him. That's a lot for a guy that doesn't offer you anything after the catch at this stage of his NFL career, and it's coming off his worst year ever. I don't think there have been good offers for Zach Ertz, or even an offer for Zach Ertz. So if and when he's cut, I think Tennessee and Jacksonville make the most sense for Zach Ertz. From Gary Hollins, the Chiefs sign any more free agents? Big name guys? Probably not. I think that the most likely outcome there is they maybe sign some guys who get cut closer to roster cut time, maybe churn the bottom of their roster a little bit, but I'd be a little bit surprised if KC really went after another big name guy. They've added enough talent. They're in contention again this year. I wouldn't get my hopes up from that perspective. I would say it's a bit more likely to just stand pat, maybe churn that bottom of that roster, as many teams do in training camp. If you want to be a part of these live mailbags, folks, there's only one way to accomplish that. You have to be subscribed. So hit that big red button and join us. That way you get the notification when we go live, and you can live chat with us. You can send us your questions, and maybe we'll answer them. So hit that big red button and join us right now. From Bunny Gamer, if Xavien Howard goes to a team, in your opinion, which one would it be and why? Good question. I think at some level, whatever team offers the Dolphins the most in a trade. I think a team like Arizona, who is trying to contend, isn't paying any big money to corners right now, and needs one, is maybe even under-the-radar destination. So I like Arizona. I know teams like the Seahawks have been heavily speculated. I still think the most likely outcome is the Dolphins and Howard kiss and make up. But beyond that, I would say Arizona is probably a good dark horse team to keep an eye out for. From Rashard Lee, your dream Super Bowl matchup. I will answer as a fan here. So I grew up as a Cowboys fan. Always have been, always will be. So Cowboys are my first answer there. That's kind of a no-brainer, quite frankly. I love them. The other team, which would cause some major family drama, if I'm being honest here, is the Bengals. The rest of my family are all Bengals all Bengals fans, excuse me. Now that's an issue. Once every 4 years, it's a problem, and we always get through it. But if I get a Bengals-Cowboys Super Bowl, that'd be a lot of fun for pretty much everyone in my family.